Well, it is the festive season, and what we have seen is a lot of the e-commerce companies, most of them in fact, consumer brands, talking about bouncing back very strongly to pre-COVID levels. So much so, many of them say they're doing better than what they were doing in the month of February and March before the pandemic hit India, and of course before the lockdown. So in the middle of all of this, what we've also seen is a great attraction towards the digital world, particularly in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. The hunt for the next billion is actually in the smaller towns. And one of the biggest beneficiaries of that, therefore, has to be the digital payment landscape. In fact, a new record has been hit, ladies and gentlemen. The NPCI has announced that UPI transactions in a month have crossed a mammoth 2 billion. I'll repeat that. More than 2 billion UPI transactions took place in the month of October. And when you start looking at the data, what's also very interesting is we have a new king when it comes to the UPI transactions. PhonePe, owned by Walmart, has beaten Google Pay. And we are getting the winner of October, Sameer Nigam of PhonePe, right here on Startup Central. Sameer, thanks so much for joining us right here on the show. Congratulations. UPI plus your wallet and other transactions, you're nearing a billion. But when I look at UPI alone, you have beaten Google to emerge as numero uno. That also in the festive month. How did it happen?
Well, first, thanks for having me here. I think by all accounts, a really, really good sort of breakout month for us, both on UPI and overall. I think numero uno is something we've learned is something. It's a bit of a vanity metric in this market, right? You have multiple really large players, but I think in absolute terms, the growth that we've seen in digital payments over the last 90 odd days has just been absolutely spectacular. In July, we were doing only about 550 odd million transactions. Last month, we did almost 940 million odd transactions. So on a baseline of 500 million to grow by almost 80% in 3 months is stupendous. And I think it speaks to the fact that digital payments, I think the inflection point for digital payments is starting to happen sooner than we had imagined. We also actually announced very proudly earlier today that we've crossed 250 million registered users. And I think that's been one of the big reasons why we're growing so fast on total transactions. The number of people that are using digital payments and UPI in particular has absolutely exploded since COVID started. And we're not seeing any slowdown.
Yes, we are, of course, in the middle of a new digital revolution, if I could call it that. And it's something that, the consumer brands are talking about, the e-commerce giants are talking about, everybody's talking about it, right? The hunt for the next billion is in the smaller towns as they start changing their behavior. So, Sameer, have you been a big beneficiary of that? Is that how you actually maybe garnered up all of these new users and, of course, got them to transact more?
Oh, absolutely. Both the consumers as well as the merchants, actually. So one of the things PhonePe started doing way back in 2018 was we started acquiring millions of merchants in Tier 2 and Tier 3 and beyond in the kirana segment. And after the COVID lockdowns ended, in fact, those were the zones that happened to be green, right? The rural, semi-urban areas actually were green before the metros were. And so commerce resumed there, transactions resumed there. So I think that strategy, we got a little lucky. But even more broadly, both on the consumer and merchant side, more than 70% of commerce transactions or merchant payments for us are happening in Tier 2 and beyond today. And that trend continues to be very healthy. Digital payments is absolutely a pan-India habit. I think it's as secular, as broad-based a habit as the telecom revolution was 10, 15 years ago.
So when you talk about the telecom revolution, which was also so competitive, we also saw a price war. What we're seeing in the digital payments world, Sameer, and because you drew the analogy, I'm drawing the analogy. We've seen all kind of offers, right, to gain market share The fight is for every user. Are you guys remembering that phrase which the telecom companies had forgotten back in the day? Average revenue per user, ARPU. How is the digital payments world's ARPUs doing? Is that something that PhonePe is very, very conscious about? And are you also improving on that metric?
Significantly, actually. But I think it's also worth clarifying. Since January, we have not run, in 2020, basically, we have not run any direct cashback offers other than on the first consumer transaction on UPI. And what I mean by that is, I think people need some stimulus, mental stimulus to overcome the resistance to digital payments. And that's like trying any new food or shampoo or any other product. That's a consumer acquisition offer. We have not incentivized repeat transactions for the longest time. I don't think it's sustainable at all, and we don't do it. Our ARPU is actually pretty healthy, and our economics are in a good place. No complaints there.
Okay, so what's also important to note, and you touched upon it a bit. Yes, you have taken more than a 40% market share of the UPI transactions, more than 800 million. What's also very commendable, if I look at the October data, is that you have clocked in total 925 million plus transactions. That's, whether it's UPI, wallet, the whole works. You're heading near the billion. What are the milestones that you as the big boss at PhonePe are now setting out for yourself?
I think North Star metric remains how many users have gone digital. So we'd said sometime, I think in 2018 or 19, early 19, we'd set a target as 500 million Indians using PhonePe by 2022 end. At 250 million registered users, we are at exactly the 50% mark. And I think that's really at this stage of the market, the only metric we look at. How many users or customers are using PhonePe and using digital payments? I think we've seen this in the US, we've seen this in China, markets like Germany. Wherever digital payments adoption has reached a tipping point, about 50% of the population gets there. The next 50% comes very, very fast. So for us, our job is to make sure 500 million adult Indians are using digital payments in the next couple of years. I think that 1 billion will become 10 billion in no time. I think these numbers seem really large today. But again, it's less than 2 years ago that we were celebrating 100 million transactions a month. We're almost touching 1 billion now. So I don't think the transactions is really the exciting number. It's how many unique Indians are transacting online that's exciting. That's very exciting, by the way.
Are you numero uno on that metric as well?
I don't think by total registered users we'd be the largest till date. I would imagine, at least amongst existing competitors, I'd say Paytm probably has a few more million lifetime users. GPay has Paytm. We're all in that same 250 to 300 mark. But I think in terms of monthly active users, I'd like to believe we are at the top or right up there. We have more than 100 million monthly active users at this point.
Okay. So what's also very interesting and what we've seen PhonePe do in recent times is make it clear its ambitions go beyond the typical digital payment landscape. You've got financial products. You're trying to make a big play in insurance, for example. You want to digitize kiranas as well. So if you could first begin with the financial services product play that PhonePe has been dabbling in. What are the initial numbers looking like? What's the initial feedback looking like? Is this going to turn out to be a serious business for PhonePe?
Oh, absolutely. I think the initial numbers, both on wealth with the mutual fund product suite, as well as insurance, looking very promising. Insurance in particular, health insurance, COVID insurance products, we saw very, very steep uptake as soon as we launched. And again, more than 50% of policies being purchased by people beyond tier 2. In fact, even on the wealth management side, when we're talking to AMCs, they're really surprised that almost 60% of our customers are what they call B30 or beyond 30 top city customers. These are absolutely new to the world of investments and mutual funds. Similarly, absolutely new to insurance customers. So I think we'll end up hopefully disrupting the category again by just sheer volumes, as opposed to the ARPU of any individual policy size or the amount each individual user is investing. Instead, our focus is on building products for the masses, for the middle of the pyramid, and then the bottom of the pyramid. So the way we've just about sold 7 lakh policies since we launched insurance earlier this year. Our next target obviously is to get to 1 million policies by year end, and then 10 million next year, and so on. I mean, just scratch the surface. So I think financial services, both investments as well as gold, as well as insurance, in it to win it, in it to really disrupt. We are staying away from lending. We've said this in the past, and we continue to say that I don't think the time is right for PhonePe to enter insurance. Lending right now. On the kirana side of it, again, COVID's provided very strong tailwinds for small store and small business digitization. We've got about 10 million merchants who now have the PhonePe for Business app. Currently, they're using it more as a transactional tool to sort of verify if customers have actually paid them, monies at the bank, settlements and that stuff. But in the next 3 to 4 quarters, we really hope to help them digitize their business, provide information, and enable chat and conversations between customers and merchants directly, enable a lot of hyperlocal commerce. And I think that one's going to be the next big area of focus.
But isn't that something that everybody seems to be doing? Digitizing kiranas, whether it was Bharat Pay and all earlier, whether now it is Paytm, there is you, there is JioMart. I don't even know if Amazon is going to start doing it. Like, this seems to be the new thing that everybody wants to jump into.
Well, we look at competition as flattering in this case. When we entered UPI, everyone thought we were nuts and the world turned. And when we started digitizing and putting QR codes for interoperable QR codes for UPI in 2018, again, everyone told us, hey, the wallet QRs are dominating. Here we are, 12, 13 million QR codes down the line, and everyone's jumping in. I think it's natural that most of the big players will look to enable hyperlocal commerce. India is a highly unorganized market. It's very fragmented. All the magic's happening in the local markets, and therefore it makes sense that digitization is going to happen, and the digital commerce revolution is going to happen on the back of digitizing kiranas. There's only about 500 to 1,000 odd organized offline chains in India. So you can't really compete beyond a point there. We've already digitized all of them 5 times over.
Sameer, I know you promised us 15 minutes and I've finished 15 minutes with you. But before I let you go, I'm just going to ask one final question. We'll make it a quick one. How are you going to make sure that what you have achieved in the month of October doesn't remain an aberration, but is sustainable, that you try and stay on top at numero uno? How are you going to do that?
I think the way we look at it, there'll be aberrations plus minus every couple of months. This is, by the way, if you go back and look at the headlines, this is the 4th Diwali season in a row that we are back at number 1. There's a time when we were competing with the Bhim app. There's a time when we were competing with Paytm. There's a time when we've been competing with Google. We just focus on making sure that we keep our success rates really high and keep growing the consumer base. I think the rest takes care of itself. As long as you have the consumers and the merchants, I think we'll always be right at the top or right about at the top. I am in a multiplayer market. I think we're more focused on the fact that we just keep growing no matter what. Others will sort themselves out. So we're in this for the long run. No pressure.
Okay. Sameer, Okay, you're here for the long run, and you've shown that time and again with your commitment financially, as well, of course, the new businesses that you've been wanting to enter: insurance, wealth management, digitizing kiranas. Here's wishing you and the entire team at PhonePe all the very best. We look forward to more interviews in the near future.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.